Okay, so this next one is called the gas laws, and all of the formulas and mathematical calculations that we do will only work for gases. And the gases have to be at standard temperature and pressure, STP. So I'll remind you what those are in a minute. So this is all about gases, this entire. So we're going to talk about the different things you can measure for a gas. You can measure pressure, volume, temperature, how many particles there are, pressure, volume, temperature, particles. I think that's it. So we're going to start with pressure. So today's lesson will be about measuring pressure and mostly about converting pressure units. So if you measure air pressure, then the instrument is called a barometer. And if you measure any other pressure, like the pressure in a helium tank, then it's called a manometer. And they just give it a special name for measuring air pressure because we do it so often because of the weather. So the first barometer started out something like this, with just a bowl of mercury and an upside down tube. And as the mercury went up, then they figured, okay, the air pressure is pushing down on the bowl full of mercury, forcing the mercury up the tube. Well, then what they would do is they would measure how far off of the tabletop is the mercury level in the tube. So they measured it because, they're scientists. They measured it in millimeters. So it became known as millimeters of mercury. Originally, actually, it was known as torr because it was named after the person who figured it out. So you might hear it called torr, you might hear it called millimeter of mercury. It's the same thing. So here are all of them equal to each other. It means exactly what that bottom row meant, but just in case there was any confusion or anybody likes them better like this, here are all the metric conversions are for pressure units. United States also tends to use PSI, which is pounds per square inch. I don't use that one as much, so I didn't include it here because you're less likely to see it on a worksheet or something. Using these, we should be able to do simple one-step factor label conversions to get from one to the other. So these should only require one step. And we'll take a look at that, a couple of examples of that on the next slide. Okay, we're going to do some practice problems. So you're going to start with the given over 1. It's a one-step conversion again. Start with the given over 1. So here's the first practice problem. So you're given is 560 millimeters of mercury. Put that over 1, draw a conversion factor. We're trying to get to ATM. Then mmHg is on top on the left, so it's going to go to the bottom on the right. And then ATM is what we're trying to get to, so that's going to go on the top. And then you fill in the numbers from the standard numbers. So 1 ATM, 760 mmHg. You multiply the tops, multiply the bottoms, and divide. Round to sig dig, and you get 7.4 times 10 to the negative 1 ATM, or 0.74 ATM. Okay, the pressure of a gas is 230 kPa. So you got to get kPas to mmHg. So put 230 kPa over 1. Draw a conversion factor. Equals, make an answer line, mmHg. Then bring your given label to the bottom of the conversion factor. Bring your answer label to the top. Then get the numbers from the standard pressure. And it should look like this. Multiply the tops, divide by the bottom. You should get 1.7 times 10 to the third, or 1,700 mmHg. So that's how you do pressure conversions. And then I have one more thing, and that is temperature conversions. So the temperature conversions are going to be just Kelvins and Celsius. You don't have to do Fahrenheit. Okay, I'm going to change the slide. Okay, so in order to get Kelvin, if you know Celsius, you just add 273. Or if you know Kelvin and you need Celsius, then you subtract 273. So what I'm going to have you doing now is I have a maze. You have to work your way through the maze. It'll give you a problem in the box, and then it'll give you arrows going in different directions. You have to choose the right answer. You're going to flip over to the other side of the paper and show me the factor label or the adding and subtracting if it's temperature. But you have to show your work. It has to be in factor label to get to that answer. Go ahead and on the back of the paper where you're showing your work, round it to SIGDIG, label it, everything. Then flip over the front and find the direction. As you go, number the boxes. So wherever you start is number 1, and whatever direction is the right answer, you put a number 2 in the next question, and you flip over to the back and you do that for number 2. Then you keep going. If you do it right, you'll work through to the right place. Definitely show all your work on the back to get credit.